Artistic movements in cinema have engaged filmmakers in experimentation with the practice, and today, remnants of these movements can be seen having influenced contemporary films. The distinguished modern filmmaker Martin Scorsese exhibits a range of filmic influences throughout his career. Scorsese's lesser-known 1998 picture Kundun is a decisive thematic departure from his previous films, clearly borrowing from a particular movement's influence. Following the life of the 14th Dalai Lama, Kundun documents his discovery as a child to his exile from Tibet. Kundun finds its roots in a movement of distinctly political cinema, reflective of social unrest and authentic to working-class stories. Italian neorealism. Born post-World War II, out of civil discontent in the aftermath of economic devastation and strict control over cinema during Mussolini's regime, Italian neorealism aimed to render this social actuality into art. Films of the time typically pictured the life of working-class Italians, maintaining realism through location shooting, non-professional or young actors, and documentary-style visuals, as seen in Bicycle Thieves and Rome Open City. So how is this cinema style present in Kundun? Through collaboration between director Martin Scorsese, cinematographer Roger Deakins, and editor Thelma Schoonmaker. For Scorsese, the 14th Dalai Lama's life was underpinned by simplicity, following an almost episodic story structure. The film documents the childhood and growth of the Dalai Lama alongside socio-political progressions of Tibet, using multiple non-actors. In this sense, Scorsese cites Italian neorealism as a strong influence for Kundun.
For example, a lot of the way I got into the mood of this picture was we looked at a lot of, I just happened to be looking at De Sica films, Vittorio De Sica and Bicycle Thief and Gold of Naples.
For example, the use of children in major roles is common in neorealist cinema, as it heightens the realism of the film. With 4 young, non-professional Tibetans playing the Dalai Lama, Kundun was shot as much as possible in continuity to assist the actors, a technique almost never used in narrative filmmaking. Not only are the cast and crew predominantly Tibetan, but many were related to the Dalai Lama or fled Tibet themselves.
There's nobody in the movie who hasn't lived the movie in one way, shape, or form. As having had a relationship with people who they are portraying.
This lived experience and established relationship strengthens the story through genuine emotion. Like much of Italian neorealist cinema, it is more than an artistic stance, but an embodiment of an ideology. Scorsese also channeled neorealism through location and set design. Although the film was shot in Morocco, Scorsese and production designer Dante Ferretti conducted lengthy meetings with the Dalai Lama to construct blueprints for major locations in the film. Ferretti commented,
"Real, no technology, no cinema, it's not set."
Additionally, Scorsese only storyboarded the opening sequences of Kundun, mostly deciding on set what the shots should be, mimicking documentary filmmaking with the aid of cinematographer Roger Deakins. One of the most celebrated Western cinematographers, Roger Deakins, headed the cinematography of Kundun, and with good reason. Kundun was a very specific project, Deakins says. "I think Scorsese asked me because of my documentary experience. Kundun was a film where we were basically working with non-actors." For the founders of neorealism, the medium of film was to capture life as it is. Deakins applies this, a more naturalistic, earthy, and intimate look at the life of an extraordinary person. This prioritization of a documentary style permeates stylistic decisions made throughout production. Early in development, Scorsese and Deakins decided on the Super 35 format for widescreen for its ability to accentuate real light sources. During filming, Deakins heavily favoured lenses with focal lengths that simulate a human eye's field of view. To him, that seemed to be the more natural way of seeing things. But neorealism is not solely defined by its documentary-like lens, and neither is Kundun. The style aims for social actuality as art, and Deakins holds the artistic aspect of Kundun in high regard, defining it as a tone poem. Despite commercial failure, some critics agree with Deakins' sentiment. For one critic, the film is raga-like in its composition, rising and falling with every visual image gloriously photographed by Roger Deakins. According to Deakins, this is why he loves the film. "I do think it is Scorsese's best. I like the symmetry of it, the poetry of it." These elements are also present in the editing of the film, which was conducted by Scorsese's longtime editing partner, Thelma Schoonmaker. In their many film collaborations, both Schoonmaker and Scorsese aimed for documentary-style editing.
We grew up in the cinema verite period of documentary filmmaking. It was a marked influence on how we work. And for example, I found it extremely helpful when Marty's doing heavy improvisational films like Raging Bull.
This style of editing and filmmaking was no different in Kundun. In an interview with French film magazine Positif, Schoonmaker states it was like documentary cinema, where both her and Scorsese had to rely on emotion when cutting. For Kundun, Schoonmaker states both her and Scorsese attempted to oppose the three-act structure, which Schoonmaker believes is an obsession in Hollywood. Once they realized dramatic elements didn't matter, they were free to go with the rhythm of the movie. In this, Schoonmaker undertakes a neo-realistic style of editing, simple, almost documentary-style narrative structure, aligning with an Italian neo-realistic approach to filmmaking, with non-complex editing. Additionally, Schoonmaker edits dream sequences within the film to give it a poetic-like effect. She states that Marty plunges you into a dream. This is exemplified by this scene in the film.
And force the child to kill the parent.
Schoonmaker's editing style was heavily praised by critics, Jake Cole from Slant magazine stating that editor Thelma Schoonmaker's use of dissolves works to suggest a simultaneous occurrence of events, like a dream. Ultimately, the collaboration of these three creatives on Kundun worked seamlessly to create a beautiful film with clear characteristics borrowed from Italian neorealism. Through its direction, cinematography, and editing, Kundun works to infuse the art of cinema into the social landscape of 1950s Tibet, portraying it with as much authenticity as possible. As Scorsese says,
What I'm trying to do, I guess, is to create an impression of a world that doesn't exist anymore. It may be the only way to preserve the memory or the heart of that culture.